worked. Fabulous. Let's mute you. Okay, so this is my first attempt to use screen capture as part of a live stream. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to be capturing what I do in Logic Pro with regard to multitracking. So we'll be switching to a few different scenes. I'm going to get a better webcam, but I can't live stream. So I'm going to switch you to, I wonder how that comes out. So that's switched over. Hoping you hear that okay. Back to me. And then we'll go to where I should be able to play my video. Okay, so how's that working for everyone? Oh, someone else has turned off. Not happy. I'm just going to, I'll just switch you over to something else, and I'm going to clean the webcam. Okay, so there's 2 watching now. Thank you. Okay, I'm not getting any comments. Don't be shy, please. Just so I know you're there. Three watching. I wonder if 2 of those are my iPad and my MacBook. and there's actually only one person watching. And just angle you down a bit so you can see my shirt. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes. I'm assuming my voice is okay. So why don't I play you some pretty music while we're waiting? Sorry, I'm playing on my Mac. You're going to hear this later in the program, so here we go. Here's some Renaissance for you. Hey, Jessie. Someone's here. Woohoo! So, what you're listening to is 40 recorders. It's a piece by Thomas Tallis. It's a motet, Spem in Alium. Oh, good. Excellent. Can you hear that in stereo? Can you hear coming from one bit to the other? See, it sounds... Hey, Nancy. So let's, this is what you're looking at. Sorry, I've just got to fiddle around a little bit with Logic. And we'll begin in a minute. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Kathy Williams-Devries, and you are joining me from my recorder dungeon. I'm trying some new technology today, using screen capture live streaming. It's a program called OBS that I discovered on Google yesterday that allows me to capture what's going on the screen. I haven't worked out how to capture the mouse yet. Sorry, I'm looking over here because that's where my iPad is that's got the live chat. I'm looking directly into my webcam. So I discovered that the webcam on my Mac is pretty awful. So I've got an external webcam on, and you are hearing the sound through this microphone, which is what I use to record in Logic. So, for those who are here that haven't seen it, okay, so I'm going to show you the latest. Actually, it's not the latest video I've made because I did make a video yesterday, and also another one today. Although the video images were actually made by Letha Lee, but here is the latest Nick Zentner spoof video. Coming to you.
Well, a pleasant good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us. This is a geology live stream from my backyard here in Ellensburg, Washington, USA. I teach at the college in town, and tonight's topic is igneous rocks, and in fact, this is Rock Week. So I hope that you saw our program last night, and if you didn't and you're watching this in replay form, you might stop right now.
Okay, so did anyone there pick up my Bing Crosby tribute, White Christmas? So I downloaded the piano score off Music Notes for that one. But let's continue. And of course, that's the Hallelujah chorus. And of course, this is Yakety Sax. You can't hear me?
No, I don't. Cleavage. Believe me, I'm a fan of cleavage. I'm double-fisted. How we doing? I'm dropping acid left and right here. And double-fisted.
Should be able to hear me. I can see on the mic that something is I can see on the mic that that's registering. I could turn it up, I suppose. Oh, okay. Okay, hang on. I'll move it a little bit closer to the speakers. Yeah, it's for some reason the videos. Okay, you can't really hear anything on the laptop. Okay. Um, that's okay. I don't know why it's just coming out of the laptop speakers, but that's okay. This is what that recording looks like. So this is Logic Pro. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. Okay, cool. I could always switch to the internal mic on the okay. But what we're looking at is the different parts of Logic. So what I did was start with the great bass part. I'll give you a look at the music. So this is the score I worked off. Just a piano score. So yeah, hang on. What I'll do is I'll turn that up. How's that? Is that better? Is that better? Should be better. I've turned up. So that's the music I worked from. So what I did was I started in Logic with the great bass part. So let me play you that. I think we're getting some feedback. And you may wonder how, yeah. Okay. This is hard. So you may wonder how I keep in time. So that's how I keep in time. And this click track disappears on playback. Okay, you can't hear the great bass part? Can you hear that? Actually, okay. What I might do then is change the audio. Why don't I change the audio to the webcam? How's that? Is that better? Is that better? Okay. Let's try this again. It's the great bass part's very soft. So this is meant to be soft. So this is the first part I hear. And when I'm listening to this, I can change the metronome settings so they're not quite so loud. See, it's a bit softer. Okay, great. And then what I did was I left the inner parts for last and recorded the soprano part. Oh, good. I think the webcam's quite okay. So this is the soprano part. If you go back to, I actually recorded the soprano part on two different instruments because it goes higher than if we go down, because this bit's okay for the ordinary old descant. But when we get down to here, it gets a little high for the descant. And so this is where I switched to the sopranino. And I'll show you in Logic where that is. Okay, so this is on the descant. So this bit from here, let me just reveal to you the different takes. There we are, the different takes. You can see I've done quite a few takes, up to 17. But this is the bit where we switch to the sopranino. Because as you'll recall, it goes way, way higher than is comfortable for the descant. And so this is, and I bet you can't tell, so this is descant, and I bet you can't tell. And I've gone, and this is the bit here where I've gone back to descant, but you can't tell, can you? And I've changed over to sopranino. Okay, so what I then did what I then did was record the inner parts. So let's take these inner parts. And I'll get rid of the great bass. So this is the inner parts. Doesn't make much sense. And then you add in and I'm assuring you that I actually did play that. I assure you that was me playing that. So I was playing it. That looks a little bit loud. I might just turn that down a bit. So I took a few half a dozen tracks, so that's the half a dozen instruments I used to record the piece, but in each track is a number of takes, because obviously I don't get it right first time. So this is how I do it. You just record one part on top of another. And I'll show you some of the outtakes. These are quite funny. Okay, so especially when I start swearing. Actually, where's a good bit? These will be fun. So so that's where I've stuffed up. That's where I've stuffed up. How do I keep the track so well synced? Well, it's because of that click track that you're hearing that disappears once you play back. It's dead easy. Also, I have a very good sense of rhythm. And I'll just go back to me. So the way I keep them synced is because of the click track. And also my chamber music skills have improved out of sight since I started multi-tracking, because you don't have the body language between players, so you're relying very, very strictly on your good rhythm. So let's hear a few more of these outtakes. These are quite funny, especially when I get really, really riled and start swearing. Thought I'd hear more swearing. I must have been polite. I'll stop it. There we are. Okay. Yeah. Because it says Benny Hill because this is the Benny Hill theme music. I'm a huge British comedy fan, but I'll show you a few other features. So if you look to the left-hand side, I'll show you the mixer. This is the mixer. So you can see all the different parts. Here we go, look at that. So each one of them has an input. You can't see my mouse. I've got my cursor. That's the input is my microphone, which goes into an audio box. Now, for each different recorder, I have what's called channel EQ. And what that does is it highlights certain hertz ranges of each instrument. It is my own engineering studio. It's a virtual engineering studio on the computer. That's why I use it. But I've got different presets for the different recorders. Okay, I've got different presets for the different recorders. That's here. And none of that comes up. Damn it. But I'm sort of clicking through various things and it's not coming up. Yeah. So I've got to work that out before next time. But you can sort of do volume. Yeah, so that's Benny Hill. So you've got you'll notice here that I've got bar numbers at the top and also time. So you've got the bar, the beat. This is the tempo, 220. That's so if you have a look here, I can put in markers, but we don't want that. It'll make more sense in the next one. I can put in a key signature. I can move the tempo up and down. And I can have it in bars and beats, and also okay, so I've had this program since 2013. It's called Logic Pro X. I was actually trained how to use it in 2012. So I've been able to use it since 2012, but a lot of the stuff I've kind of figured out for myself. I think, yeah, Monty Python's Flying Circus will be next. But let me take you to a recording of something I used for the video I made yesterday. Just give me a second. I will quit Benny Hill and come to Ortiz. So we're just okay. So I'm now going to introduce you to some Ortiz, the second of the Risicadas. Remember, I think a couple of weeks ago I played some Ortiz Risicadas and I described them as the 12-bar blues of the Renaissance. And it will become quite apparent when I play you. So here are the Ortiz Risicadas. I don't know if any of you have watched the video I made yesterday of Nick's hike out at Saddle Rock. So here's some Ortiz. And one thing I like about multitracking and recording Renaissance music part by part is it's kind of like the reverse Seven Veils, in that you're adding layers. I generally start from the bottom up. So here are the Risicadas. So what I did was I started at the bottom. So let's start at the bottom. So this is what I mean by the 12-bar blues, is that the Risicadas have a bass line that repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. So it's actually, and when you're recording the parts one by one by one, the bottom parts aren't terribly interesting. So this is what you hear. And then it repeats again. And it repeats again. But let's now add the bass part. So these Risicadas, I played you the Risicadas arranged for solo recorder and continuo. This is arranged for 5 recorders: great bass, bass, tenor, alto and descant. So let me add the bass part to it. And let me add the tenor part. And let me add the alto. It's beautiful music, isn't it? From the 16th century. And how I navigate, because there's, let's see, I think there's 6 of these, is that I navigate by going to the next, I place markers. And you see how I then go to marker 1, and you can see the key signatures change from 4/4 to 3/4. The tempo hasn't changed. And then I can, so this is the one in the video yesterday. And if I get rid of the upper parts, and then I can just navigate to the next one. And you see with marker 2 that the tempo has changed. So the tempo is now 108 crotchet beats per minute, and that's very easily changed by going up and down. Yeah, well, that's actually, Jessie, that's actually why I chose the music, because it was sad, and I was actually very sad to leave the live stream yesterday. I think the outdoors, I was really sad to leave. That's why I had an over sort of bearing sadness to the video I made yesterday. It was a sort of a poignancy, and that's why I chose that particular Risicada. Yeah, I didn't want to leave yesterday. It was just so beautiful, and I'm glad it was Nick doing the hiking and not me. You know, it's like, it's just so beautiful, your heart weeps, you know. So now I'm going to take you to my most ambitious project. This is where I recorded. Hey, Luther. This is where I recorded 40 parts. So let me show you that in a second. Okay, so this is what 40 parts looks like in Logic. So here we go. So descant, alto, tenor, bass, great bass, soprano 2, alto 2, tenor 2, bass 2, great bass 2. This is what 40 parts looks like. So that's what 40 parts looks like. Yeah, I probably should have cut that out. But kind of, you know, wanted to leave it in because it was in the original video. Anyway, so this is so this particular piece that I recorded 40 parts is a motet by Thomas Tallis called Spem in Alium, and the score looks like this. So Thomas Tallis is very 16th century, 1505 to 1585. Let me just take you to that. So you've got 8 choirs of 5. So you've got soprano 1, alto 1, tenor 1, baritone 1, bass 1. And then you've got choir 2, choir 3, choir 4, choir 5, choir 6, choir 7, choir 8. And I hope that's not going too fast for you, but you can see how the choirs call between each other. And they all stagger the start and so on. Faulty Towers. I love Faulty Towers. Da 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 dum ba da 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 ba da 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 dum. So what's interesting with these choir parts, the alto part, is that on the alto recorder, I actually have to read it up an octave. That's quite common for Renaissance music. So I had a dickens of a time trying to read this. So I got this from a site called imslp.org. And the way I read it was using these part books. So they're in 8 part books. Hang on. No, they're in part books for soprano, alto, tenor, bass, baritone. And that's how I read. So this site is amazing. imslp.org. Oh, I love Blackadder too. Actually, I think I read it off the vocal scores. Yes, so choirs 1 and 2, choirs 3 and 4, choirs 5 and 6, choirs 7 and 8. And even that was a struggle to read because you're reading 5 lines at once. So that's what you're trying to read. No, you're reading 10 lines and trying to. I had a dickens of a time. I think if you, I think Nick's humour's quite. Well, it really resonates with me as an Australian because he's so deprecating most of the time. And that's very Aussie. So let's go back to, I'll take you back to, so what I did with these is I ran each choir through a different bus. If you look at the left-hand side, you will see bus 1. So what that means is I have a cunning plan. I love Baldrick. So what was your favourite Blackadder? Because I thought they got funnier and funnier as the series, but I think I liked the Elizabethan one the best. I mean, Hugh Laurie's just Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry. Miranda Richardson, yeah. So actually, let's go back to the beginning. So choir 1 starts. So what I've done is, if you look on the left here, oh yes. Remember I did that Patsy's quote about in the live chat about the last mosquito that bit me had to check into the Betty Ford clinic. Yeah, so what I did was, does that come up? Just got to see if that comes up. So you can see on the left-hand side, you've got bus 1. What that means is I've channeled the top 5 parts through an auxiliary. And the reason I did that was so I could pan. And what I mean by that is that if you look and you see minus 64 on the left-hand side underneath read and bus 9, you'll see that I've panned it to the left. So choir 1 will come out of the left-hand speaker, choir 2 comes out of the right-hand speaker, choir 3 the left, choir 4, and you get this marvelous call and response between the two speakers. It's quite incredible. So I'm going to have to turn this down a little bit probably. And you should hear it coming out of the different... Can you hear the call and response between the different choirs? Spem in Elion. It's actually a vocal piece. It's a motet. So this would actually be 40 voices. Can you imagine in an old church, and you've got 8 choirs of 5 people coming from different parts of the church, and you're sitting in the middle and you hear this, whoa! Yeah, so a lot of Renaissance music's vocal, and I've adapted it for recorder. I'm just going to tell you about the different buses. So what a bus means is that you have an input and an output on each track. Hang on, my pussy's just come in. Pussy, come in. Oh, you big fat boy. This is His Majesty. This is His Majesty. He could not help himself. He's a big fat boy. He's even bigger than Bijou. Okay, so I'll just answer a couple of your questions. Yeah, he's big, isn't he? He's like over 10 kilos. Oh, you big boy. Oh, my big boy. My big fat boy. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Yeah, there you go. So I'll answer a couple of your questions. So yeah, the process is addictive. This particular piece probably took me a week or two. Let's see. Yeah, I could easily do Swan Lake. What I like about imslp.org is that it actually has quite a lot of arrangements of various things for recorders, which I've been using on my highlights, reels, anything. And I'm actually going to, over the next few weeks, rather than me doing live concerts all the time, which is very, very exhausting for me, is that because I don't work, and I haven't worked since 2011, is that I spend my days playing music and recording. And so I have a huge collection of SoundCloud tracks, and also YouTube, although having to record for YouTube adds extra hassle, because I've got to record the video on top of the audio. I know people use apps and stuff and record video at the same time they record audio, but to answer nobody's question about if I make a mistake, you might have come in a little late when I was going over the Benny Hill Yakety Sax recording, and I showed you all the outtakes. So all that happens when I stuff up is I take it back to where I haven't stuffed up and start recording again. Or there's another one which is like punch in, punch out spot recording, where I use the marquee function and highlight a bar or several bars, and it punches in and punches out. So you'll hear like the bar before, and that starts playing, punches into where the bar that you want to correct, and then punches out again. So that's a feature of Logic that I really, really like. So no, I don't have to do it all in one take. I mean, yeah, I can do like 20 or 30 takes, and you wouldn't know because it gets recorded over. Yeah, it's yeah. Well, it's not paid work. I mean, I could monetize my channel if I wanted to, but you know, my husband earns pots of money as a public servant and keeps me in recorders. I've got to show you. I keep mentioning this mysterious Shalamo because I'm a big. So the descant recorder is the soprano recorder. You know, the instrument of pain that the kids play. You know, so this is the descant recorder. You know. Yeah. So recorders can be called. So the descant recorder is also the soprano recorder. The alto recorder is also the treble recorder. The bass recorder is also the basset recorder. And the reason they differentiate that is that you have bass, great bass, contrabass, subcontrabass, and sub-subcontrabass. Yeah, he's a he's a keeper, all right. He's the only guy I know that because he studied a music degree, he can provide critiques of my playing because he's in the next room. You know, and he can hear me playing. He's going, "Oh, that sounds good, Dal." But also, we're both big sports fans, so we can watch cricket or tennis or football, rugby league, and that, and converse on a intelligent level with the sport as well. Plus, our political views are aligned. I used to ride a bike a lot too. Yeah, so yeah, he's one in a million. Let me just go back to the buses. I want to show you these. I want to show you these buses because what's interesting with buses and auxiliaries is so what I did was each choir of 5, I put through a different auxiliary or bus and then panned left or right. But that's not the only thing you can do. But you can also direct buses into another bus. It just depends what effect you want. So what I did, and I'll take you back to the Talus, is you can see, so you've got bus 1, let me highlight that, so auxiliary 1, bus 1, you can see that the output's going into bus 9, which is bus 9 here, and all of these buses, so bus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you've got 40 tracks in 8 different buses, and every one of those 8 buses then goes into another bus. And the reason I wanted this bus was because it has silververb. And what that is reverb. Because if I was to take out the reverb, so if I was to take out the reverb, it would sound pretty dead. So it sounds very, very dry, and that's because it's recorded in this room, which is tiny. So then we add, and listen to that. Makes so much difference, doesn't it? So, I mean, there's heaps of other stuff you can do in Logic. Yeah. Well, you see, the technique for recording in general is that you record as close to the mic as possible, because that eliminates extraneous noise. Like if there's microphones called iRig that you can actually plug into your mobile phone, which if Nick got one would eliminate Muffler Boy and Train Boy. Yeah. Well, you see, there's different. So there's microphones that you can stick in your mobile phone or iPad that will get rid of extraneous noise, and then you can put like foam on it, and that gets rid of the wind as well. For my live recordings, when I'm recording concerts, I actually use this guy. It's a H5N Zoom. And what I like about it is you've got the two microphones. We call this particular stereo recording type XY. There's a few different ways to record. So if you're recording with two mics, see, I'm recording at home with one mic, but it ends up stereo because I've got, 40 parts. I'll get back to the church sound in a minute. But when you're recording sort of live out in the field, you like to record in stereo. And there's a couple of different ways that you can position the mics. Now, you can have the mics in parallel. So that records the sound, sort of 180 degrees. There's also, and this is what this is, it's called XY. And you put the microphones like that at a 90-degree angle. And there's another one that was discovered by some people in French radio called ORTV, where you record like that. I prefer actually to record actually what I do is this particular microphone has two inputs, which means that I can have the XY recording from the mics in the microphone, and then I hook up two other microphones and I do it in ORTF, and that gives you an amazing sort of directional and multi-directional sound. So what I was going to say about the reverb is that I have a preset because I've been using this program for a long time and I know what I like to hear in terms of reverb. But there's different settings. You can have different sized rooms. So yes, you could have a full-on cathedral if you wanted to. I keep my reverb fairly subtle. You can have reverb that sounds like you're in an iron tank, like a water tank. It just depends on your taste. And I haven't even gotten on to my video stuff. But I actually did a sort of behind the scenes video on how I made one of Nick's videos, so you'd see how I did that. Maybe I should take you on a tour of the room. Yeah. Yeah, we'd miss Muffler Boy, wouldn't we? See, actually, this software I'm using right now with the multiple screens could eliminate Cozy Fort, because Nick could, just as I have, play the videos using this OBS technology and just switch between the screens, and he could still film himself with the mobile phone, just have it casting into the program. It's dead easy to do. Okay, tour of the room. I just want to show you. So I'm a big fan of old instruments, and I'm very interested in historical clarinet. So I have two of the earliest form of the clarinet called the Chalumeau. But I also have, but they're copies of a Denner Chalumeau, and I'll show you in a second. But this is a genuine, and it's real ivory and everything. This is a genuine 1843 classical clarinet. So this is real ivory. So this is that's real ivory. This clarinet was made in 1843, and it still plays. And I've played it. So I'm still, yeah, it's beautiful. It's made of boxwood because the early, I mean, I could easily, no, just the rings around the joints. So these are my Chalumeau. I don't know if anyone's ever learnt. I don't know if anyone's ever learnt clarinet and heard of the Chalumeau register. There's a reason that there's a Chalumeau register, because there was originally a Chalumeau. So this is a soprano Chalumeau. I'm not going to play it because I've got Lippy on, but if anyone saw that link I posted of me playing the Chalumeau, I was playing this thing. And the thing with the Chalumeau is that you don't have a register key at the back, so it only plays an octave and a half. And because of that, you have soprano Chalumeau, alto Chalumeau, tenor Chalumeau, bass Chalumeau, and basson de Chalumeau. And the reason it doesn't overblow is because these two holes are opposite each other. It wasn't until J.C. Denner was it wasn't until J.C. Denner yeah, J.C. Denner was because this doesn't overblow. It actually does overblow. If you blow harder, it goes higher. But it's actually different to a recorder. It looks kind of like a recorder with a couple of keys, but the difference is the bore is actually cylindrical instead of conical, and that changes the overtone series. But I'll show you the alto Chalumeau. It's a little bit bigger. So although I would Denner, Denner, Denner. He was an instrument maker, but from the Chalumeau, the Baroque clarinet came about because J.C. Denner was trying to find the B natural in between the B flat and the overblown C, and came across the Baroque clarinet. And so yeah, came across the Baroque clarinet. But the interesting thing was the chalumeau couldn't play high, it couldn't overblow, but the baroque clarinet couldn't play low. And then it wasn't until someone worked out that if you moved the thumb hole out of sync with the first finger hole and added a register key, that's when the clarinet was born. That's an interesting bit of history. But I love the I love the progression because my classical clarinet from 1843 has, I think, 10 keys. Your Mozart clarinet would probably only have sort of 4 or 5 keys. And then the Romantic clarinet would have even more keys. And then it wasn't finally until the 20th century that you got all the keys. And an interesting thing with the different chalumeau sizes is that because the clarinet didn't have many keys, it couldn't play lots of sharps and flats. And the way composers got around that, and the way instrument makers got around that, was they made a clarinet in every key. So, the modern clarinet's a B flat clarinet. And that means that when you play a C, it comes out concert B flat. And if you're an orchestral clarinetist, you will also play an A clarinet. I also have a C clarinet, that's a non-transposing clarinet, although it's pretty awful. It's pretty crappy, it's cheap and nasty. There's the E flat piccolo clarinet. There's the A flat piccolino clarinet. But clarinets were made in almost every degree of the scale. So, like Mahler would write for D clarinet. Even Richard Strauss wrote for D clarinet. So Till Eulenspiegel was actually written for D clarinet. You have the F basset horn. Mozart originally wrote his clarinet concerto in A, originally in G for a G basset horn. A clarinet, A flat clarinet. So I just love the history of the clarinet. It's fascinating, and I'm finding out so much more about Baroque oboe, Baroque bassoon, and would you believe that the Baroque oboe came from the Renaissance shawm, and the Baroque bassoon came from the Renaissance dulcian, and I have friends who have those. And in the Baroque period, you had all different interesting instruments. So you didn't just have the Baroque oboe, you had the oboe da cacciatore, and the oboe da caccia, and the oboe d'amore. The most interesting, I think, are the brass instruments. So you have like the serpent. And a friend of mine plays the serpent. It's basically the earliest form of a tuba, but it's shaped like a serpent, and you play on holes. And there's another one which is an early form of the Baroque trumpet called a cornetto. So there were all kinds of weird instruments around in the Baroque period and the Renaissance. The sackbut was an early trombone. And the Baroque trumpet's a sight to behold, as is the Baroque horn, or the natural horn. So I'm going to leave it there. But what I've decided to do Monday nights, because it is such a long break between Sunday morning and Tuesday night, is that I'm going to start featuring my recordings. I'm going to guide your listening. So this Monday night, which will be my Tuesday morning, I'm going to be exploring my recordings of, and I think Eric asked me this last time, what was my favourite piece of bark? And I have to say Art of Fugue. And there's a bit of a story behind that, because I became acquainted with Art of Fugue by Bach 20 years ago when I read a book by Vikram Seth called Unequal Music, and it featured a string quartet that was playing Bach's Art of Fugue. And naturally, when I got my 415 recorders, my Baroque recorders, I got a hold of Bach's Art of Fugue. So what I'm going to introduce to you on Monday night, if you want to tune in, is Bach's Art of Fugue. And I'm going to do a little bit of research on it so I can guide your listening in that. So you'll have that to look forward to. And I'm going to do it at Baroque pitch, so A equals 415 hertz, because as I've seen on memes on Facebook, social distancing for COVID is 1.5 meters, but people that play Bach at 440, 100 meters. So yeah, it'll be 6 p.m. as per usual. Should take about an hour. And and then it's going to be a while before I play again because it was just so exhausting last time. So for the regular Friday night live stream, I will be featuring some more recordings of myself, and I might actually feature the Renaissance, so some more Renaissance, called Renaissance Relaxation. So same back channel. Yeah, so everyone will be so chilled out until I get to Gesualdo. And I keep mentioning Gesualdo, and he's a vocal composer that writes the weirdest harmonies that you ever heard in the Renaissance. So I'm just going to start featuring my recordings until I get the strength up to start playing again, because I've got stacks and stacks and stacks of recordings. So so I'm going to basically do Mondays and Fridays when Nick takes time off, because I find it really hard. It's sort of like I get so used to sort of tuning in at sort of 10:30 in the morning, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, and it's like my when I wake up sort of Mondays and then I have a whole Tuesday without Nick, it's really, really tough. So I'm going to keep everyone amused, and we're going to hear some nice music, and I'll hook up the video again so that you can see the videos. I've been watching Nick since about beginning of the year. As I explained in the email, I'm sort of quite a fan of the San Andreas Fault, and just stumbled on one of the downtown lectures, and it would have been about 2 a.m. in the morning, and I came across this sort of hour-long geology lecture, and I thought, the opposite is the case, and in fact I can't watch anything of Nick's remotely before bedtime, otherwise I'll be up till 5 in the morning. Watch it, just sort of so revved up, because he has so much energy. it's just it's just so inspiring. So I've got to love you and leave you. Don't you just love the shirt? I'm such a tragic. Yeah. So I'm going to leave you in preparation for the Bach Art of Fugue. I've got to record the final fugue, and if I'm feeling particularly ambitious, a few of the canons as well. So thanks so much for watching live, and if you're watching on replay, we've had a few technical things, but I think I've worked out most of it. So thank you so much for tuning in. So it's my Saturday. I've got another about 13 and a half hours until Nick's on again, so I'll probably have a sleep this afternoon, or watch the rest of that new It movie, and I'll see you guys online. All right, bye for now.